Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Dark Magical Gaming. As you've already heard by this point, we got some major news today in the world of Yu-Gi-Oh! The 2021 10 of Ancient Battles set list has been released and has been confirmed by multiple YouTubers. We have a lot of great reprints in this set. This definitely goes down in history as being one of the greatest Mega 10s of all time. There are a couple cards in this set that stand out more than others. Obviously, the first card is going to be Crossout Designator, which if you don't know what this card does yet, it reads that you can declare one card name, banish one of that declared card from your main deck, and if you do, negate its effects, as well as the activated effects and effects on the field of cards with the same original name until the end of this turn. You can only activate one Crossout Designator per turn. What does this mean for the game? Well, with the limitation of Called by the Grave, this essentially lets you play 3 more copies of Called by the Grave. The only drawback to this being that you have to be playing the copies of the hand traps which you are trying to beat. So the most common is probably going to be using it to counter Ash Blossom, Joyous Spring, Ghost Spell, Haunted Mansion, Effect Veiler, things of that nature. And, of course, cards like Infinite Impermanence, Fantastical Dragon Phantasme, and also, for all of you combo players, Nibiru is going to be a big one, being able to counter Nibiru. But it is relevant to remember that this card does not just have to banish monsters. This can banish any card in your main deck, so that goes double for spells and traps as well. So what does this mean for the game as a whole? Is this a good thing, or is this a bad thing? This is definitely a great tool for rogue decks that have a hard time fighting through certain hand traps, primarily cards like Artifact Lancia, Drolan Lockbird, and Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, which is good because it kind of levels the playing field for rogue decks, but in turn, the meta decks are going to be able to play this card at 3 as well, so it's going to lead into having a harder time countering the meta decks with hand traps. So I don't know if this card really technically levels the playing field as much as it just boosts meta decks up even higher, because now those decks are even harder to be able to deal with. You're probably going to see people go away from playing quite so many hand traps and maybe going into playing counters to fields that they already make. Cards like Triple Tactics Talent, which is going to be highly accessible now, Forbidden Droplets, which is going to be more accessible after Brothers of Legend, Forbidden Chalice, cards that would be less likely to be hit with Crossout Designator. One topic for something I did want to point out with this is decks that have their own built-in archetype-specific hand traps. 2 that come to mind are Subterra Fiendus and Morgan, the Enchantress of Avalon. Those are just the first 2 I thought of. Cards that, unless you're playing in the mirror, are not going to be in your opponent's deck. So I think Subterra gets a boost from this because they're going to be able to be relatively unaffected by Crossout Designator. You also notice by reading this card that it does not say you can't banish a copy of itself. So you can actually use your Crossout Designator to negate your opponent's Crossout Designator, which is insane. I feel like this card should have said except Crossout Designator. But yes, essentially you're going to be able to play 4 copies of Called by the Grave, assuming Called by the Grave does not get banned. More so than hand traps, you can also use this card in mirror matches, banishing things like Fractal Nerval, Kit, Rescue Cat, any of the above, as well as cards in your side deck. You could easily see players go to side decking cards like Tri-Brigade Revolt to be able to negate those cards on your opponent's turn. Any cards that you might see being played in Drytron as well. Cards like Herald of the Orange Light, Meteonis Drytron, any of the Drytron monsters. This is definitely going to shake things up in the game. I'm very interested to see where it goes. What does this mean for Dark Magician? The same thing it's always meant. I've never really been a huge believer in Dark Magician to start with. I thought that playing a deck that's significantly underpowered, you only were able to really take advantage of playing hand traps that had blanketing effects such as Artifact Lancia, Drolan Lockbird, or cards that provided a body such as cards like Phantasme, which also fixed consistency, is a level 7 and is a dragon. So for Dark Magician, I think that we will be relatively unaffected by this card. I think this card does give us a boost if we decide we do want to play hand traps, to be able to counter things such as stuff that negates our Verde Anaconda. Moving on into the 10, we have a lot of good reprints to point out here, such as the of Girasu the Orcus Mech Knight, being printed as an ultra rare. Ghost Mourner and Moonlit Chill is another good one. Fusion Deployment is a card that I have put in and taken out of my Dark Magician deck several times. We have all of the Dogmatica cards, Fallen of Albaz, Gravedigger's Trap Hole. I actually didn't notice this one earlier. All of the Melfi cards. We have Nadir Servant, of course. Ice Dragon's Prison, Shadal Schism. That's a big one. We have Chaos Ruler. And let's see. We have all of the Phantom Knight cards, Raider's Wing, all of the Tri-Brigade cards, some rarity bumps for our Virtual World friends. On the last page here, we have more rarity bumps for Virtual World. We have a Warning Point reprint, Adamancipator reprint. I actually really wanted to try out the Chronomaly Adamancipator deck, so that will make getting Researcher a little bit easier now. Some Shadal reprints as Prismatic Secret Rares. We have the 3 World Premiere cards, which look phenomenal in person, or I guess in photos in person. And then the last card, Crossout Designator. I definitely think that if you can get your hands on 3 of this, that you should definitely be playing this card at 3. Looking at trends in the game over the past few years is something I've been thinking on. Cards such as that of Harpy's Feather Duster, Twin Twister, Evenly Matched, Lightning Storm. You have formats where trap decks are running rampant, and people start main decking mass backline removal to combat that. The trap decks will kind of fall out of favor for a while because all of the main decked hate. So that means people can take those cards out of their main deck and either side deck them or not even play them at all, for that matter. Trap decks will stay out of the picture for a little bit, and then one day trap decks are completely right back to where they were because of the surprise factor and catching people off guard by not playing a lot of back row removal. I could see this card kind of being like this. I could definitely see people taking a step back from popular hand traps. So therefore people would take Crossout Designator either out of their deck entirely or down in lower numbers or move to their side deck until the play on this card isn't seen quite as much. This card is very generic though, so I don't know how I feel about that strategy moving forward until we see just the ways that this card is used in the TCG. This could be used as a side deck card, being able to take out various parts of your opponent's combo by side decking any cards for that matchup, as well as mirror matches. This card I could see definitely being a blowout card. So we don't have much longer until the 2021 10s release. I do believe it is the last day this month. I am going to be searching everywhere to try to get a few copies of Magician's Salvation, maybe some Adamancipator Researchers. Definitely will be the chase card. Crossout Designator. Triple Tactics Talent is in here somewhere. I probably just skipped it. Right here it is. See, is Adamancipator Signs in here? It's a card that I'll have to pick up as well if I want to play the Chronomaly Rock deck. I didn't even notice the rank up spell for Phantom Knights is also in here. So definitely looks like a great set. I can't wait for the release. So what are your thoughts on the 2021 10? What are your thoughts on there not being Forbidden Droplets and Access Code Talker in here? Forbidden Droplets naturally is going to be reprinted in Brothers of Legend, but as for right now, Access Code Talker does not have an announced reprint. So do you feel as if the card has the potential to get banned, and maybe that's why Konami did not feel the need to reprint it in this list? Or do you think that Access Code Talker could find itself being reprinted in Brothers of Legend alongside of Forbidden Droplets? Please let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe with your friends. Definitely shout outs to Eric off of Zodiac and Dual Daddy on Instagram for making this beautiful, well put together image. So you can see all the cards quite well. And I hope everyone enjoyed the video. And this is Mike from Dark Magical Gaming. Have a great rest of your week, and let's continue the countdown to the 2021 10 of Ancient Battles.